I'm Ed Rabyd, otherwise known as the Rabyd Atheist, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. You're free to like or dislike the video as you see fit, so feel free to hit those buttons. Feel free to comment below, and I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel and hit your notification bell for more content as it is released. This channel is purely about education, and so you're also free to share my videos as much as you like for that purpose. This video is dedicated to one subject and one subject only, and that is the fate of a commenter known as Sunny Delight. At first, I thought it was dealing with the typical argumentative Christian that just likes to get on these sites and, and cause some problems. The real issue, and I don't have a problem with that per se, there comes a point where you just kind of look at it from the standpoint of, okay, he thinks he's doing. I don't have a problem with Christians being on my channel here as long as they respect some of the things that I've had to say about commenting and things like that. Sunny Delight, my problems with him grew the more he commented. He even, I think Freebird of Reason, if you're out there, I think you and him had an interesting exchange, and he kind of just called your comments stupid. Now, I have said it before, you're welcome to call people's comments stupid, but be prepared to demonstrate it. I looked at some of the things that he called me stupid, that I was engaged in straw man tactics, and I felt really like at that point I was dealing with a man much like Brody Hodge, who has enough knowledge of logical fallacies to throw the terms out, but doesn't know what they really are. And I was looking at this and thinking to myself, I'm going to spend an inordinate amount of time and an inordinate amount of emotional energy dealing with this individual. The spirit of my channel, and this is what I was afraid of by starting something on Bible contradictions, because the moment you put that phrase, Bible contradictions, in the Senate, all the Christians show up to yell at you about the fact that there's no contradictions in the Bible, which is an interesting claim that I think that they need to back up. But I began to do a little research into Mr. Sunny Delight and found out that on many, he's actually been labeled as a spammer, because he comments so much and people have just on other channels. I hadn't labeled him as spam. That means that many other channels had labeled him as spam because he's that annoying. That's the level of annoyance that I don't respect anymore from Christians. If you can't keep a civil tongue in your mouth and you can't respect a person's argument, an atheist argument, enough to actually address it and break it down, this is what you're saying. Okay, well, this is where I disagree. He didn't do that. He just said you're wrong, or I disagree with this, and never backed it up. And I've had to really reevaluate, because my only one rule on this channel has been don't engage in ad hominem. And I was watching very closely to see if he would actually cross that line. And I think on a couple of occasions he did cross that line, because he was insinuating things about people's character instead of dealing directly with their arguments. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm labeling this guy as spam myself. I'm going to hide the user from this channel. He's just not going to show up. He can comment all he wants, but none of you will see it. And I won't see it anymore either. I just don't want to deal with that type of Christian that's just going to come on here and just make a nuisance out of himself. This channel is dedicated to deconversion issues. It's dedicated to me helping those of you and helping myself who have deconverted from religion or Christianity in particular, and like to look at the Bible and theology still, but also like to do other things with it. I have no problem with a Christian being on this channel and watching it. In fact, in my next video, for a Friday video, which I'll probably do right after this one, where I'm going to address some comments, I am not going to address Sunny Delight's comments anymore. It's pretty clear to me that I'll never convince him or her of the error of their ways or anything else, and they're not going to convince me of the error of their ways according to them. So it's going to be kind of one of those things where we're just going to fire salvos back and forth and not solve anything and just create a lot of emotional heartbreak and heartache and things like that. And I would just rather not go down that route. So Sunny Delight, if you watch this video, sorry, man, but go find somebody else to harass. Okay, you're not really listening. Okay, I think the real problem that you have is just not listening. I've had objections to my views that I've listened to because I could tell that the person really listened to what I had to say. In fact, there's a couple commenters that I will be addressing in my next video that said some similar things to Sunny Delight, and I think that's going to be. But I wanted people to understand what happened to Sunny Delight and that I'm going to continue to, hide his stuff. Now, a couple other things you should consider. His whole channel, which he has no videos, no playlists, nothing. He simply has joined YouTube in order to comment and do other things to other people. Okay. And he's only been around since July 11th, 2020. And my guess is before that, his previous account to that got labeled as spam, and his previous account to that got labeled as spam. I know what this guy's about. I've seen this before from watching from the grandstands and seeing other YouTubers deal with it. Rather than do that, I very much like to interact with comments. I do. But I also don't want to interact with somebody who's basically so convinced of their position, there's no point in talking to them. I'm pretty convinced of my position too, but I'm willing to hear objections and offer an explanation. I, however, cannot respond to 25 spammed small comments that 20 of them, I could basically say this: I'm not sure what your point is, and you haven't proven your point by actually laying out an argument. You've accused me of something, but you've offered no evidence of it. Just giving me a time dates, I'm going to listen to what I have to say and say, well, yeah, that's valid. How is it invalid is up to you to prove. And that's true of anybody. So we have always had the rule of don't engage in ad hominem. I don't know. Maybe my second rule is don't make a pain in the ass of yourself. I don't care if you're an atheist or a Christian. Learn to listen. Learn to listen to the other side. I listen to Christians all the time. I'm married to one. I have Christians in my family. I also have people that are not Christians in my family. I have listened to both sides. I've been a Christian for 40 years. I was a minister for 20 years. I preached this stuff. When I deconverted, I spent 5 years going back and forth between the critics of Christianity and the Christian apologists, and found that the Christian apologists only answer to a certain point, and then there are certain questions that just don't answer. And I had questions involving a lot of things that just became too big for me to handle. There was just nothing left. So I would go to apologist websites and read them and go through them, and didn't find any resolution in those either. So I want to address that. Another thing I want to address, and this is, I will have one comment from Sunny Delight that I'll address in my next video because I think it's an important illustration of what I'm talking about. But I do want everybody to understand that I am a big believer in civility. Okay. I try, I work very hard. I mean, that's why, like my Rabyd rant, I think I've only done one of them because it was very uncomfortable for me to do. I'm not interested in just screaming and yelling at people about what they believe. I am a compassionate anti-theist. I understand why you still believe. There's a lot of good reasons to continue to believe. I mean, not the least of which is this promise of eternal life, which is kind of a selfish motivation, if you ask me. I want to live forever. A sense of purpose. I get all that. That's why I kept my beliefs for so long, wanting to see loved ones that have died. It was a big one for me. So that's kind of where I'm headed. But I wanted to let everybody else know what happened to that commenter. And let this be an example to all the rest of you out there in Christian land. Don't make an ass out of yourself. Listen to what I'm saying and actually represent, because part of the problem I had with Sunny Delight was he was accusing me of engaging in straw man while himself creating straw man of my positions, that he wasn't listening to the full context of what I was saying. So I don't know, and and he wasn't really asking any questions for clarification or anything like that. Occasionally he would say, well, is this figurative or literal? And I'm like thinking to myself, dude, if you speak the English language, you know exactly what the answer is to that question without even having to ask it. And I don't know what your point is. So there was a lot of comments that it was like, what's your point? Would have been my response. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I wanted to let everybody know that that's what happened, because I very much loathe to get rid of subscribers or commenters, because I do enjoy interacting with them. I do not, however, enjoy interacting with somebody who has decided that no matter what I say, they're just not going to listen, and then turn right around and just keep spamming comments just to be a nuisance. And that's kind of where I finally said, geez, oh, Pete, this guy has like commented 20 some times, and there's only been 2 comments where I considered it would have substance. So, I mean, that's unfortunate, because there was some substance to some of the comments. It's just, dude, get over yourself and develop a little humility and listen. And I realized that this guy wasn't going to listen to me. At that point, I'm not going to listen to him either. I do appreciate a bunch of civility, but that's kind of, he did say, I appreciate you answering my comments. I said, well, yeah, but you're making it harder and harder. So, as far as desire, so there's that. So, I'm going to kind of stop with this video. I want to thank you once again for having the patience to listen to this. The next video will come out Friday. It'll be a typical Friday video where I ask their comments. I will not be answering the comments of Sunny Delight, other than one that I think is an interesting comment, because it kind of illustrates the problem. So there's that. And once again, I hope that someday convince you to be a rabid atheist like myself. In the meantime, this is Rabyd, the Rabid Atheist, signing off and wishing you a good day.